Hi guys, can you hear me? Hope we don't have a problem now. Can I get some messages from you if you can hear me? I need to know that we're live. There have been some problems with YouTube, but it seems it's working now. So, Peter Hedron, to those of you who don't know me, I ran a lot of YouTube channels in the past. Now I have two YouTube channels. One is about psychedelics. The other one is about spirituality, and they're quite successful. So I thought that I might be the right person to help anybody who to get through these difficult times now. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot that we need to prepare for. And I'm not going to talk about what you need to do in terms of, the medical stuff, how to self-isolate, that kind of stuff. You have enough information from media, the government, everybody else. Something that no one really talks about is what you need to do with your mindset, with your psyche, with what's happening inside of your head. And this is very, very important. This is something that no one will really. Mainstream media is not interested in you being healthy, mentally. They care about spreading panic and clicks. They're just clickbaiting the whole thing. I feel that I'm in the right position to talk about this because there are actually two reasons. First one is that I was born in an Eastern European country at the beginning of what can be described as 10 years of misery. This is the 10 years that preceded the fall of the Berlin Wall. And most of the Eastern European countries were on the brink of collapsing. So I was born in a country with closed borders, in a country that was filled with soldiers. There was martial law. There was curfew. Our countries were occupied by another country. There were a lot of food shortages, poverty, energy outages, and there was a complete breakdown of, I wouldn't say social structure because people were actually supporting each other, but I would say the healthcare system, everything that you normally rely on, everything that you take for granted, all of this was gone. And although at that time I didn't really feel like this is something out of ordinary because that was my reality. When I look back at everything now, I realize that this is pretty much the same as what I went through when I was a child. And one of the funniest things is at the moment the the lines for toilet paper. This is one of the funniest things because I remember back when I was a child, when I was in school, we didn't have toilet paper. We had little pieces of newspapers. So there was no toilet paper. So when I see people fighting for toilet paper now, that's insane. That's pretty much my childhood, and it makes me laugh. So there's one more reason that I think I could tell you about how to get through this, because obviously we did go through this. We did get through this. Everything was great. We didn't have many problems. So when I say we didn't have many problems, I'm talking about the mindset, because I had a happy childhood. My childhood was really, really, it was great. We really enjoyed being children, even though when I hear about everything today, my parents must have gone through hell. Imagine not being able to go to the hospital, not being able to do anything. And that was something that they probably struggled with. But there's another reason why I feel I could talk to you about how to deal with this whole situation, and not only how to deal with this disease that we have in the world now and what it could lead to. I can also talk to you about solving problems in general, because I deal with problems on a regular basis, and my family is about dealing with problems. Because we went through so much, we learn how to come up with a mindset that allows you to survive. Because believe it or not, surviving this thing physically is one thing, making sure you don't get sick, you have the right nutrition, everything else. But if you break down your personality and everything like that, if you allow it to deteriorate, if you allow it to get in a place where you feel like you're trapped, you will affect your physical situation, everything, your condition. It will be affected both mentally and physically. It's not just your mindset. And you need to be aware of that. I want to tell you what it feels like and what happens when things like that happen. I want to talk about this situation from a point of view of a person who's been through this. So it should give you an idea what it feels like. And we'll start from talking about what you can expect. See the same things happening with people as I saw back in my childhood. We've had this only for a month, some of you only for a few weeks. Depending where you are, it's been a few weeks, few months. But I can already see what's happening to people. I can see it around me. I can see my friends and family. I know it's just the beginning, so I know what to expect. Can I just ask quickly, guys, for you to type a comment that you can still hear me? I just want to make sure that you guys are still here. So just type in, yes, we can hear you, and then I'll know that everything's okay. I hope I'm not talking to an empty screen. So the first thing that will happen is that you'll start getting bored. Boredom is the first thing. Oh, you can hear me. Fantastic. Thank you. It seems like not a big issue being bored, but boredom is usually the first step to stress. You might consider it like a trivial issue. Trust me, once you stop being occupied, your mind will start playing tricks on you. And you can see it with people who retire, people who leave their jobs. There's a great scene in Shawshank Redemption. There's the movie Shawshank Redemption, and the guy leaves prison and he hangs himself. And I've seen it happen, well, maybe not so drastically, but I've seen people do a lot of weird stuff. And actually, I did see something similar. Yeah. So I've seen people in situations where they leave their jobs and they go crazy, and they usually end up in crazy situations, or sometimes they just lose their lives. Boredom can be quite dangerous, especially for someone who's never had to deal with not having anything to do. So boredom usually is first step to next problem, which is anger. And we'll talk about all of this, how to deal with this. So for now, I'm just going to explain what's happening with you when you get in this situation. Anger starts being, you start getting annoyed, and because this is not a natural situation for you where you need to stay in one place, you cannot have your usual routine, whatever. You start getting angry. You'll start getting angry at the government. You start getting angry at anything. Then there'll be your family, your children. You'll start taking it out on others because you'll be angry. And this is normal. So this is normal. Don't worry about this. This will lead to a lot of stress. You'll start getting stressed all the time. You might observe like shallow breathing. You'll start seeing it could lead to panic attacks. I mean, if you're trapped in your home for long periods of time, you could start getting anxious to a point where you get panic attacks, especially people who live in like, I don't know, just blocks of flats or like brownstone, whatever. If you're trapped, if you have a house like with a garden and stuff like we have in England, it's not as bad. But if it gets to a situation where you're not allowed to leave the house, you'll feel like in prison. And obviously, you might have seen some of the videos from China. There was this guy who was just screaming, just went out in the middle of the road, just crying and screaming that he couldn't take it anymore. So this is something that you could expect from this situation. Obviously, anxiety is a big threat. Some of us already have all of the anxiety. Some of us are really, really struggling with what's happening, and it's because everyone's scared. Fear is a natural reaction what's not natural is to be permanently scared, is to be perpetually in a state of anxiety, and this is what the mainstream media wants you to do. This is not normal what mainstream media is doing, and I'll talk about this, but for now, just forget that news. Don't read news. Don't watch TV. Switch it all off. Don't look at your phone all the time. It makes no sense. Anxiety will be a big problem for you because fear will reshape your physiology, your hormones, everything that's being secreted, like adrenaline. It will reshape the balance of hormones in your body. It will fill your bloodstream with adrenaline, which will then cause some other problems. Anxiety and fear are very, very damaging to your body, and you need your immune system now. You need it more than ever. So that's something that will happen. We'll talk about this. The next stage will be hopelessness. Once you go through those stages of boredom, anger, then stress and anxiety, you'll realize that it feels like you're trapped, like there's no hope. Now, in this situation, we will probably we will not know how long this will last until all of this finishes, until we have a cure. So it might be a few weeks, it might be a few months. No matter how long it lasts, the state of not knowing what we're dealing with and how long it will take, this will have a big effect on your mindset, your psyche, how you deal with stuff. It will basically strip you down of all of your defense mechanism. I mean, the mental defense mechanism, the ones that you use on a daily basis. So you need to understand that you need to be hopeful. You need to have you need to believe that everything will be fine. And we'll talk about positive mindset in a moment, but this is something that might ultimately lead to depression. So hopelessness was changing, and it was confirmed. And one particular example I always comes to my mind, and most of my survival skills when it comes to prepping and getting ready for situations like this is a blog of a Yugoslavian just civilian, someone who got trapped in I think not Srebrenica, one of those cities in Yugoslavia, and he was trapped there for 1 year. With snipers on every roof. They couldn't leave houses. They had no access to food, nothing. It was crazy. And he basically described everything that you need to prepare for, and he described the gradual breakdown of society. It was an amazing thing to read. It's very long. I think he started like his own company now with this. I don't remember his name. But yeah, it's very eye-opening to read something like this. And because I spent a lot of time reading this, and also I've been prepared for this for a long time, because I knew that something like this will happen because I went through this myself. I knew that this is always a possibility. So I basically always treated a situation like this as one of the potentials and in my life. And it's not that I was expecting this, but I knew that something like this could happen. So depression is the next big issue that you would need to take into account. And once you get real depression, like clinical depression, that's a very thin line between life and death situation. Trust me, real depression on top of global pandemic and food scarcity and that kind of problems, this could be the final nail in the coffin. So I want you to be aware of those possibilities. I want you to understand that some of this is, if you don't do the right thing when it comes to taking care of your mind, this is something that you get yourself in. And obviously, once you get depressed, you could obviously get in a situation where you break down and you no longer have any you don't want to live anymore. You don't have any willingness to live. You don't care anymore. This is the moment where people go crazy, like straight jacket crazy. They start running naked around the street. I've seen it. Trust me, this is not something that is out of out of the scope of possibilities. I've seen people who were stressed so much, who were under stressful minds, and not situations, but mindset, that they started breaking down, and they lost their sanity. Trust me, it's possible, and you might start seeing it if it lasts for too long. And you don't not only become a problem to yourself, but you also become a problem to others. And in this situation, trust me, no one wants to take care of you. No one wants to make sure that you're fine. No, they'll get rid of you. Whatever it means, they'll try to get rid of you. So you need to do everything you can never to get to that stage. And obviously, there are people depending on you. You depend on other people. It's not just you being yourself. You don't live a life. Your life is not yourself. If you watch my videos, you know that I made a video called "Life's Not Yours." So you're basically a part of a social structure, and you belong to your family, everybody else. But the biggest problem, even if it doesn't lead to anything serious, once you get in the depressed state, when you start breaking down mentally, it will affect your body. It will start affecting your normal functioning and your immune system. I would say not even half, I think more than that. 60% of your health is your mindset. Because he is a famous scientist, basically, who deals with human DNA, and he says that human mind has only two stages. So if you in a closed mode, when your cells are closed, when they're scared, they basically eat and they die. They don't regenerate. When you're relaxed, you're healthy. Obviously, cells communicate, they exchange nutrition and information, and everything's fine. They can regenerate. But if you're scared for too long, you will see that you will start affecting your immune system. That's why scared people have gray hair and wrinkles. It's because those cells, when they die, they don't regenerate. They're not growing again. So read Bruce Lipton or watch his talks and videos. He's a great guy. But yeah, you obviously need to understand that once you let all of this get to you, you will start getting stressed, and this will lead to a lot of health problems like insomnia. You might start eating a lot of junk food, and obviously that's understandable because not all the healthy food will be available. So the quality of food you will eat will just go down. It's simple as that. But the problem is also that when you're stressed, your body, the dopamine levels in your brain will start acting up, and things will change. You will start eating comfort foods. You'll look for it will make you happy. So you'll eat a lot of sugar, a lot of just junk food, just food that you normally wouldn't eat. So